For years now, the lightweight division has been the true money division of the sport, the perfect mix of power, speed, and technique that has birthed some of the most memorable superstars we've ever had the pleasure of watching. And with that in mind, for this video, we're going to bring you the top 10 greatest lightweights to ever lace up gloves and fight. The 10 fighters who have given the sport's most electric weight class life over the years. Number 10, Eddie Alvarez. To kick things off, we have the underground king, Eddie Alvarez, a man who has clinched promotional gold in pretty much every organization he fought in up until his post-UFC run. Eddie fought the best of the best across multiple generations, beating several icons including a few names who are going to get a mention in this video. Alvarez used his uncoachable grit to, in some ways, overperform against guys who were technically better than him, and he did this over a span that lasted more than a decade. A lightweight legend and a fighter whose resume is aging pretty damn well. Number 9, Islam Makhachev. Is it a bit controversial to place Islam Makhachev on this list, given just how new he is to the top flight? Well, in my opinion, his sheer talent alone is enough to see him sneak into our top 10. Sure, he doesn't have the resume just yet, but his 2 elite wins over Charles Oliveira and Alexander Volkanovski are pretty damn good ones, and I think another victory or two as lightweight champion could give him a real push up these rankings. Islam's performances in the UFC have been stellar for the most part, but for now, in 9th position he remains. Number 8, Frankie Edgar. Runs at bantamweight and featherweight may have come during periods of increasing popularity for the sport as a whole, but the most iconic run of Frankie Edgar's career came when he somehow rose to the top of the 155-pound division and dethroned the great BJ Penn to win the divisional crown. A follow-up win over Penn in their rematch, and a pair of very tight losses to Benson Henderson followed, but it's the Gray Maynard trilogy that really does stick in the memory. Frankie Edgar was a natural bantamweight, having amazing success at lightweight, a true legend of the sport. Number 7, Benson Henderson. And of course, given his head-to-head record against Edgar, no matter how close those fights actually were, the highly underrated Benson Henderson gets his position on the list next. A very well-rounded fighter with great physicality for the weight class, as well as some highly innovative techniques in his arsenal, including calf kicks. Benson stuck around for a long time in Bellator 2, showing himself to still be a very viable member of the 155-pound elite, right up until the very end. Number 6, Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier might be in a tough spot after losing by way of thunderous head kick KO to Justin Gaethje, but this man's reinvention from a meandering featherweight to a truly elite member of an era-defining crop of talent at 155 pounds, yeah, Dustin Poirier is a legend. He might have lost some crucial fights for the belt, but beating the likes of Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway and more, the Diamond has had a career worthy of the highest praise, and though he just about misses out on the top 5, it's been one hell of a run. On a quick side note, if you're enjoying the content and want to show your support, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss a single upload, before liking the video and leaving a comment. Number 5, Tony Ferguson. Coming in at number 5 is the great Tony Ferguson, a man whose run as a lightweight fighter can be pretty easily divided into 2 halves. But for me, I prefer to keep the memories of El Cucui's best moments in the cage fresh in my mind, because despite losing 6 fights in a row and looking like a shell of himself with each passing fight, that 12-fight win streak that initially brought him to interim gold can be held up against anything done by any of these other lightweights. Sure, some pretty bizarre circumstances prevented him from ever fighting for undisputed UFC gold, but Tony is a champion, make no mistake. Number 4, Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje has been a total surprise package in some ways, and then in other ways he's been exactly as advertised. When he signed for the UFC, we knew he would be fun, and 6 years later he is literally the most dependable action fighter in the sport, still. But his evolution as a tactician, a technical offensive threat, and as someone who can adapt on the feet, yeah, I didn't see that coming. Gaethje holds wins over the last 2 fighters discussed, and he's also very clearly still not done. Number 3, BJ Penn. Another career of 2 halves comes in next, and just like Tony Ferguson, I would prefer to focus on the BJ Penn that pushed boundaries within the lightweight division in its earliest days in the UFC. That BJ Penn might have been the greatest lightweight to ever do it, era for era, but alas, Penn's drop-off was a pretty tough one. And though his best performances can be stacked up against anything that's ever been done at 155 pounds, BJ burnt out in dramatic fashion, and the results were not pretty. Number 2, Charles Oliveira. How I'd love to place Charles Oliveira at the top of this list, and given that he is still active and right in the mix at the top of the division, it would be awesome to see him win back his belt and truly make a push for divisional GOAT status. But for now, this remarkable fighter will have to settle for the runner-up spot. At one point in time, we all thought that we had Do Bronx figured out, but then out of nowhere he mounted perhaps the single most impressive late career resurgence that I've ever witnessed. A bona fide hero of this sport who could well progress even further before all is said and done. Before we go to the top spot, I don't always do honorable mentions. Before this video, I want to give some recognition to the original lightweight champion Jens Pulver, the Fireball Kid Takanori Gomi, the icon Donald Cerrone, the former champion Rafael dos Anjos, the electric Shinya Aoki, the unmissable Michael Chandler, and of course, Anthony Showtime Pettis. Number 1, Habib Nurmagomedov. And finally, it's no surprise to see that Habib Nurmagomedov is coming out with the number 1 spot on this list. He is without question the most talented lightweight to ever do it, the most dominant force the division has ever known, and easily one of the 7 or 8 greatest fighters to ever lace up gloves. Sure, he got out of the sport way too early in some ways, but his 13 fights in the UFC, his run of excellence, that was just a joy to behold. He was a special talent and the undeniable lightweight GOAT, in my opinion. Anyway, that'll just about do it for this video. But who do you think are the top 5 greatest 155-pound fighters of all time? And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to let us know in the comments section below before leaving a like and subscribing so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Thank you for watching.